after a traumatic event, what you primarily want to do is to get kids in a safe place. You know, that's, you know, usually it's a blunt trauma that it happens suddenly, and then you can sort of, things return back to normal. But with Katrina, nothing returned back to normal. And it was impossible for that to happen. So we have a lot of kids who are traumatized and then not having those support systems, not having the same house, moving from school to school, feeling very insecure, feeling unsafe, unstable. And so what you saw, a lot of kids just not being able to recover from that traumatic stress that they had experienced, that it just kept continuing. And even to this day, you know, 2 years post-Katrina, we still have kids who are moving from school to school as new schools open.
You really ought to understand poor people's impression as to why they're poor. Are they poor because they're lazy and trifling and love that welfare check, or are they poor because the American dream never quite made it down to them? The second thing is that we wanted the residents to understand what an independent health risk race is in this country, all over the country.
We have families that are still displaced across the country, so that neighborhood, that support system never really came back. Living in areas where they don't know who's next to them. So unfortunately that stability that's so important after a traumatic event has not really ever returned back to the city. And then of course you have just living in neighborhoods, even if they've gone back to their home, if you're in the 9th Ward, you're one home on a block that's occupied, and you're driving through that, I guess, sort of that emptiness, that devastation every day. That's what you're living every day. And then of course, what we've seen over the past year is that increase in community violence again. So kids not only don't have those support systems, but now they're in neighborhoods where, and even before Katrina, it wasn't safe, but witnessing violent acts, shootings on a daily basis. So they're not feeling safe, you know, due to the community violence. So you've got sort of trauma on top of trauma.
There's more to mental health than just putting a person with a counselor and getting therapy. That those things that represent increased resilience and wellness in the community. One of the women that was talking to us, some social workers had approached her, and she said, you know, she was a young black woman, and she said, during the storm, I was in water up to my neck. I was holding on to a chain link fence so that that's the only way I could keep getting swept away. And I had my baby in an ice chest that I was pushing along in front of me because that's the only thing that would float. And we were going past the bodies of my neighbors and bodies of people, and so we finally made it to one of the overpasses. And I put my baby's ice chest up there, and I climbed up on the overpass, and the National Guard man stuck a rifle in my face and said, "You're a looter. Lie down, put your arms behind you." So I put my arms behind me, and they tied my arms behind me and took me and my baby off where they take the looters.
We needed to focus on 4 other areas of social skills, in particular, courage. You're not going to be successful if you don't take risks. And these were children who were too afraid to take any risks. So defining courage and what that meant was the first step. The second step was responsibility, learning to own your own. You make a decision, there's going to be a consequence. So think about it before you make those decisions. The third step was cooperation. We live in an interdependent world, and you need to learn how to get along with other people. And then, of course, your self-esteem. Based upon how you handle those other things will determine how you feel about yourself. So using that as a guide, we also saw that these children were devoid of experiences. I mean, almost shockingly devoid. And pretty much in inner city neighborhoods, many of these children hadn't gotten out of these neighborhoods. So we felt like we had to put 50 new learning experiences in place to give them an opportunity to just be normal. One girl, and we teach swimming here every year, I forgot to mention that, it's a part of our summer program. One girl fought with me the entire summer. African American girls do not like to get their hair wet, especially with that chlorine. So she and I just went back and forth, and I'd say, time to go in the pool. She'd have 50 reasons why she could not just say, get in the pool. So after we danced that dance for about a month, she finally started getting in the pool. She said, I love the pool. The hurricane comes. Her mom stays in the city in the lower 9th Ward. They're forced to go to the attic of the roof because the water has overwhelmed their home. The mother can't swim. She tells her child, honey, save yourself. The girl remembers the techniques, the safety techniques, distract the person that you're going to try to save. So she said, Mom, let's just get some breathing activities in, get you to relax. She had to take a couple of deep breaths. She grabbed her mom, went under the water, and came back to the top of the roof and pushed her mom on the roof and saved her mother's life. Okay. Her mom spoke to me from Mississippi and the chills that I felt because I battled with that child for an entire summer, and I wondered, maybe sometimes for us who get the opportunity, and it is an opportunity to work with these children, and an absolute flat-out privilege, quite frankly, that maybe we should never get tired around here, because if one of us would have stopped, she would have given up, and that story might have swung a different way.